Thanks, Jimmy. It's a pleasure to be here. Great to see so many of you here out somewhere, wherever we are. Wow, we've come a long way, and it's really exciting for me to be here as kind of the lead-off speaker to set the science, set the tone, to just dispel any kind of old baggage that you might have about eating this way as being a bad thing to do or unhealthy. So this is a variation. Well, if you don't know who I am, I'm an internist. I'm internal medicine trained. I was trained in giving pills for every disease. One pill or two or three for diabetes, two for high blood pressure, one for cholesterol, one for GERD or heartburn, all of that. And now I take away those medicines, which is fabulous. And I just do low carb in my practice. So yeah, amen. I wouldn't be here except for the educational, very giving and care instruction by the Atkins people, Atkins team, like Jackie Eberstein, who's here. We'll hear from her later in the cruise. Jeff Volek, who's done much of the basic science as the foundation for our understanding of low-carb diets. Mary Vernon, who helped me become a medical weight loss doctor. I can go on and on and on. It's really a great lineup of people. One of my goals is to learn about the popularization of the science and to help translate the science into a way that you can understand. So I'm going to give the slide set today that I gave to physicians over this last year in 4 different medical settings. They're educational settings. The same slides, but I'm going to change the talk a little bit. So it's not going to be medical ease. I don't want to put people to sleep today, Jimmy. Please hold your questions till the end. And then actually on Saturday, I love it, we have hours to have questions for all of the speakers. And so please make notes. Actually, some of the questions you have for me may be answered in the other lectures that we hear. So this is really exciting for me. I hope you learn a lot, and please ask me on board between classes if you have any questions, and I love to hear everyone's stories about how their journey has been with the low-carb lifestyle. So, down to business. The Debunking Myths About Low-Carb Lifestyles was the title of the talk that I gave this last year. Here are the assumptions about low-carbohydrate, high-fat diets that I've run in through the years in the medical community and in the dietitians community. Humans must eat 120 grams of carbohydrates daily. Low-carb diets cannot lead to weight loss because they don't explicitly restrict calories. How could this happen? Low-carb diets are high-protein diets, and we know high-protein diets are very harmful, and we heard at the roast, they explode the kidneys, right? LCKDs, or low-carbohydrate ketogenic diets, the acronym for that, cause harmful ketosis. Low-carb diets are hard to maintain. And then LCKDs, low-carb diets, increase cardiometabolic risk. So I'm going to tackle each one of these. Humans must eat 120 grams of carbohydrates. Turns out, while Alfred Harper lived in the community that I grew up in Madison, Wisconsin, and his daughter went to my high school, and I tracked him down years later. He's the world's expert on essential nutrients. This is convenient. My mother tracked him down in Seattle. I went out to visit him. I was out there for a conference. Here are the human essential nutrients as written by Alfred Harper in the latest version. He has retired since, and no one really has picked up the essential nutrient chapter that I'm aware of. You will not find a carbohydrate on this essential nutrient list. It's well known that carbohydrates are not essential nutrients. What that means is you don't have to eat them. An essential nutrient means you have to eat them. Your body cannot make them. So your body can make carbohydrates. All right? That's the first myth that needs to be dispelled. The daily carbohydrate requirements, as written by the Institute of Medicine, which is our revered group that's unbiased. It's not the USDA, it's not the NIH, it's these scientists who get together and put together a document. The first bullet here from the document says, the lower limit of dietary carbohydrate compatible with life apparently is 0. Well, of course there has to be some hedge, right? No, it's 0. provided that adequate amounts of protein and fat are consumed. I'm not sure what that means, but so it's interesting. Then the next bullet, the minimal amount of exogenous, meaning from outside the body, and endogenous, inside the body, carb or carbohydrate, is dependent upon the brain. So 100 to 140 grams of glucose per day is required for the brain function, all right? So, however, if you take carbohydrates out of the diet and you become a fat-burning machine, ketones substitute for those glucose molecules, or if I turn everything upside down, the brain really wants ketones, and when you're eating carbohydrates, glucose substitutes for ketones in the brain. Right? Yeah, okay, there's someone got that. So after keto adaptation, after you don't eat carbs for a while, probably 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 80% of the CNS, central nervous system energy, can be derived from ketones, leaving about 20 to 28 grams of glucose per day required by the brain. If you look at it another way, how much can the liver make? The endogenous glucose production can be up to 200 to 270 grams of glucose per day from the liver. And that doesn't even account for the kidney making glucose as well. So you'll see documents, world-class documents, people getting together, writing, because the brain needs 120 grams of glucose, oh wait, okay, that's when you're eating carbs. You have to eat 120 grams of glucose. Oh wait, the body can make 200 grams of glucose. But because the brain needs 120 grams of glucose, you need to eat 120 grams of glucose. It's illogical, okay? Or maybe it's too close to logic. So the document, best I can tell, was not written by biochemists, by physiologists. It was written by epidemiologists, or maybe people who were asked to write it in that manner. I don't know. But it's not the full story. And I think that's what we're going to learn as a recurring theme, is that we haven't been telling the full story. So basically, energy processing is like this. If you took a biochemistry class, you would see food coming in the body. You have lipids or fats. You have carbohydrates in the middle and proteins on the right. And our body basically uses proteins to replenish the protein in your body. That's what muscles are made of. Most of our body's made of protein. So I kind of discount protein as a major fuel source. So we can use lipids or fats and carbohydrates as fuel. And then we break down these things. And down at the bottom, the molecule of energy in our body is called acetyl-CoA. So it's kind of like the gas in the gas can, or it's a molecule that we try to get to fuel the body. And so without carbohydrates in the diet, the fuel system to make energy looks like this. So let me go back. With carbohydrates in the diet, without carbohydrates in the diet, with carbohydrates in the diet, without. Now, what's funny is I don't get laughter from medical organizations. I get looks of derision and skepticism. And it takes, like Tom Naughton was saying this morning, I'm alive. I haven't eaten carbohydrates in umpteen months, years, decades, and then, oh, well, gosh. Anyway, so your personal experience can be valuable to train people who are scientists or medical doctors, or anyway. So, as good, when we got involved in the research, this is now back in the late 90s, we looked at the literature, and the literature was full of papers smattered here and there, taking the carbohydrates down to less than 20 grams a day. So these organizations, or the people proclaiming this wisdom or synthesis of the literature, just wasn't seeing all the data or ignoring the data. So these studies were out there. They weren't really put together very well, but they were there. So this was one of our first looks at the literature review back in the 1990s.